Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. It's been a few weeks since I recorded. I was on my summer vacation, and I've also decided to loosen up my one episode a week regiment. I did that for over a year. That was my commitment to myself. Hopefully, that has been helpful for people that listen. But now I'm going to go into the mode of doing this when I feel like it, when I feel inspired. And that moment is today. So let's jump into it. Today, I'm going to be talking about sharing insecurities, why to do it and how to do it. One thing I know about men generally is that they don't respond to being told what to do, they respond to reasons. If you give a man a good reason to do something or not do something, they're more likely to do it than if you just tell them, I think this will be good for you. There's a lot of talk about men should open up, they should talk about their feelings. But why? Probably the biggest overarching reason why everybody, not just men, should learn and practice sharing their feelings is that it gives us more control over our life in good ways. For instance, if you're unaware of your pains and insecurities, those can run your life without you even knowing it. Example, let's say you had a really strict dad with high expectations, and he wanted you to get an education, become a lawyer, make good money. It's possible if you follow that path without really checking in with how you're feeling, it's possible that you wake up one day in your 40s and realize you've been living his dream and not yours, and that you were motivated to avoid an insecurity of letting your father down. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. If you're on the personal growth path, you're going to have those moments in your life where you wake up and realize something about yourself that you didn't know. The odds are you want to get to those realizations faster and not get hit over the head with them later in life. So in this example, if this man had spent some time exploring his fears and insecurities, he might have caught that. He might have seen that he had a deep-seated fear of disappointing others, and that stemmed from his father wound. He might have developed into a yes man who takes on things or feels obligated to do things that he doesn't really want to do because he's unaware of this insecurity, the feeling of shame when he senses others' disappointment. And there can be many branches to this. That's one general example. Another reason why you want to learn how to share your insecurities is that this is what builds deeper connection in your closest relationships. Stoicism has its place, but if your wife only experiences one side of you, that relationship is only fulfilling half of its potential. Example, let's say you and your wife bonded over shared values, goals, and hobbies. You both wanted to start a family, you're both good people, and you like to go skiing together. That's a great foundation to start with. But over time, if your wife starts to open up about her insecurities as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, as a daughter, and you're like, that's interesting. You shouldn't feel that way. Here's a way to fix that. Don't think about it or think more positively. I guarantee you she's going to feel unseen and lonely. She's going to start to pull back because in her mind, those experiences she's having are not understood, are not seen, and you're unable to relate with them. This means she can talk about the positive things, or you guys can go out and do fun things, but the vulnerable territory is off limits. You, as the man, don't have capacity for them. So what will happen, and I see a lot of women do this, is they will start to outsource that to friends and family. And this is where it can start to erode the security in the relationship. She may tell her girlfriends about all those experiences you don't want to hear. And then she may start to share about how lonely she feels in her marriage. Yeah, whenever I bring this stuff up to Dave, he just kind of zones out. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't get it. He tries to fix it. That's what she's going to say, right? To work through feelings, we have to express them. She's not trying to go behind your back. She tried sharing this with you first. And if it doesn't work, she's going to go somewhere else. This can also be where affairs start. Obviously, not always, but you can see how this works. There's a guy at work that's giving her a lot of attention, and that can feel good. It can feel confusing to get that from someone that they hardly know when the person that they're married to seems so incapable. I really don't think affairs happen by chance or accident. Ultimately, they happen because people want something and they aren't getting it in their relationship, so they go somewhere else. If they understand adult relationships and boundaries, they'll seek therapists, coaches, trusted friends, and bring it back to the relationship. And if they don't, other things happen. But let's take affairs out of the equation. Even if your wife is outsourcing her emotional needs just to her friends because she can't go to you, is that really what you want? This is worth taking some time to think about, because on its face, you might say, no, I want to be having those experiences with my wife, and she can have them with friends. But if we take a closer look, there may be some real benefits for you as far as avoiding your own feelings. I have this theory, and I've heard it other places, that human behavior always makes sense. The caveat is when we have all the information. So sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, I don't understand why I do this or why I can't do that. And the simple answer is, it's because you don't want to. I want to get in better shape. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to eat healthier. Yeah, I get that you want to do that. Most people do. But what you want more is freedom to eat whatever you want, to eat ice cream at night, and to not face the accountability of having a gym membership or a personal trainer or anyone really to hold you accountable to exercising as much as you think you should, right? Does that make sense? And we can operate on a spectrum. We can change our minds. We're always doing this. One day, you might decide that you're going to choose going to the gym, but 2 days later, you make a different choice and you don't go. That's why mindfulness and thoughtfulness are such an integral piece of discipline. We have to be able to override sometimes our emotional desires for comfort. And often it only takes 30, 60 seconds of slowing down to really check in with ourselves, to switch from what do I want to do to what would be best for me. So coming back to the sharing insecurities piece, if this isn't something that you really do, or you're not leaning into learning more about this or practicing it, it's because you don't want to. Either the fear is too big, very likely, or you don't see the value. Sometimes the fear can dictate our desire to even look at the information. I hear this from a lot of female partners, and here's my theory. If their male partners are dragging their feet on going to coaching or therapy, they've got a handful of excuses. I don't know if this will help us. I don't know about that person. Maybe we just need to go on a vacation, whatever it is. All of that I chalk up to fear. And often it's fear that they're unaware of. So if you tell a man, I think you're afraid, and they disown that feeling for long enough, they won't even be able to access it. They'll be like, no, I'm not scared. I'm just skeptical. I'm just confused. And this is the really interesting and cool part about my job, is that when we get to a deeper truth, it feels good. It's like it unlocks a part of us that's been chained up. We feel more free. I've probably had this experience several hundred times in my life. It's the, oh, that's what's actually going on with me. That's really how I feel. My body relaxes. Sometimes I cry. And it's like, phew, I don't have to walk around confused or tight anymore, at least for the time being. In the last 11 years since I've been with Jenny, this often happens in her presence. She gets to see that happen with me and trust that I can do this, and I get to see it with her. Sometimes it's one of us, sometimes it's both of us at the same time. To me, this is a really beautiful part of our connection. We can run a business together, that's fun. We can go on vacations, go hiking, hang out with friends, and we can also drop into a really vulnerable place and learn new things about each other. That's still happening. This is a well that will never get dry. Some of you have been on this journey and you get what I'm talking about. You want to do this more or you want to do it better. My advice for you, if you're at that stage, is to remember to back it up. We can feel so much motivation and vigor to like get somewhere, get to the thing, the aha, the connection, that we forget to love the process or love ourselves within the process. That's what I mean by backing it up. Step back and realize that you are trying your best if you're really trying, and realize that your partner, if you have one, is trying their best. Wrap this whole experience in a blanket of compassion. My advice to those that are totally new or kind of new is to dive in a little deeper. There's this saying in Alcoholics Anonymous that half measures availed us nothing. You see this a lot in the recovery community. People go to a few meetings, they're semi-honest with their sponsors, and they don't stay sober. Relational recovery, a term coined by Terry Real, is very similar. If you half-ass this, your heart's half into it, you do half the work, you don't know that anything's going to change. Just like recovery from substances, the beginning requires more work. That's why people often go to inpatient treatment centers for 30, 60, 90 days and then lower the level of care over time. If you're at the beginning, I highly suggest going all in. Sign up for a program, do a round of therapy. That's typically 12 sessions. Do what you need to do to challenge yourself for the next few months. And from there, it will either get easier, or if it doesn't get easier, you'll have a way better idea of what you're working with. What do you need to do? You'll understand more what you need from your partner if you're in a relationship. It'll clear up some of the confusion. Most likely, in working with couples for the last 9 years, I'm continually surprised. Some couples will have breakthrough after breakthrough in the first month or two. They'll say, we found each other again. This has been life-changing. This experience has been priceless. We've also had couples that kind of limp along, and then randomly, it would appear something changes. I think that has something to do with the work priming them for that to happen. And we've even had couples once in a while who seem like they're really doing the work and something doesn't seem to line up. I usually have theories about what that is. And sometimes those are things that are fundamental differences, at least for the time being, like a big irreconcilable difference, usually in lifestyle or how they view the world. But even then, I see people really growing up in their ability to be in a relationship, even if it turns out that they don't stay together. Meaning it always seems to be a net positive. Who knows? Maybe me, maybe Jenny and I weren't the best fit. But anyways, if you want to get better at this, you have everything to gain. You have a lot to lose. And I just don't see how any person can live their life with an experience of deep connection if they don't know how to talk about their insecurities. Maybe they can spiritually bypass them and compartmentalize well enough, but that's not the type of person I want to be in a relationship with. So I guess that person would have to find other people like them. That's probably how cults get started, now that I think about it. But I suppose I could end this episode with a personal example. One of my biggest insecurities is in my relationship to making money. My dad grew up with 4 brothers. His dad owned a construction company, as did his dad, my great-grandfather. And from what I understand, they worked really hard. My dad started pouring concrete and laying brick at 14 years old. It was a very tough family and work environment. In his early 30s, he broke away from the family business. He was able to broker a small land deal. And I think he made like 3 times his annual wage in this one deal. So long story short, he's been mostly a residential land developer my whole life, aside from the 2008 financial crisis and housing market crash. He's done better and better. And me, on the other hand, I never really gave a shit about money. I mean, I wanted to make money, but I wanted to have freedom and fun more, going back to my theory earlier in this podcast. When I found a job as a wilderness therapy guide, making no money and living outside, I was like, cool, I love this. I was just finishing up with that around the time I met Jenny. I had some pretty big opportunities that I took advantage of in the sober coaching field when we first got together. But that often meant that I was traveling around the country, getting last minute phone calls quite a bit. So it wasn't really a career path that was going to work while I was in a relationship. And now, having owned our joint business the last 9 years, I don't know if you guys know this, but therapists and coaches don't make a lot of money. It's a service-oriented job. It's really not feasible to do 6 to 8 sessions in a day. Some people do it, but it burns them out. And unless you're a great public speaker or marketer or business builder, selling books or online courses, big events, that's really not my way, my style, then there's not big checks coming in. We try to be really fair with our pricing, and it's a grind. So all that to be said, we do own our house, we have okay cars, but I'm not building wealth. That is a huge insecurity of mine. I look at some of my family and my friends, and the story that's attached to that is that I'm not smart enough, or I'm not willing to work hard enough, or I'm lazy. I'm very aware of this. But even though I'm very aware of it, it doesn't mean that it never clouds my emotional state, my judgment. It can leak into Jenny and I's connection. For instance, we also run retreats in St. George, Utah, where we live. And we have 2 retreat houses we have to book this week. A private couples retreat in August, and then I have a men's retreat happening in September. Do we want the basic option or the option that's a bit nicer but costs a bit more? Luckily, because Jenny and I are both aware of some insecurities in this area, we've been able to talk about it. We're able to talk about how we're both feeling fear just in making this decision. Is this option going to be good enough? Do we owe it to people to rent something nicer? So far, it's been good, but I have no doubt if I lose track of this insecurity, it might cause me to make up stories in my head. In this case, it's kind of reversed, ironically. I'm more in favor of the nicer option, and Jenny's like, I'm not so sure. But either way, we've been able to talk about our fear about money, not push it. We don't have to make a decision in the next 5 minutes. So this has been, although difficult, it's been smooth. We're trying to keep the connection. And I think we're both mindful not to project out onto the other. Now, you can probably think about situations in your life. Maybe it was even something small that flared into something bigger. My guess is that at the core of this, there's some fear or insecurity, something that's being touched on both sides. And sometimes that can actually be the thing that you're arguing about, and you just don't know it. One partner has a fear of losing control. The other partner has a fear of being abandoned emotionally, physically, and it has nothing to do with where you're going on vacation. So my advice is to just be mindful of that whenever you start feeling activated, confused, stuck. Is there an insecurity here, a fear here, something I could acknowledge to myself, hopefully to my partner? I'm just feeling really scared about this. My fear is this. And be careful, if you guys haven't done a lot of this, be careful to not include too much you, at least initially. For instance, an example would be, I'm afraid that we'll have to dip into the savings account. Sounds better and will be more palatable than I'm afraid that you will spend all of our money. Bring it back to you. I hope this episode was helpful today. I have a men's retreat happening September 25th to 28th in St. George, Utah. Got a couple spots left. You can email me at bryce@brycebauer.com if you want more info, or go to my website. If you're looking for that thing to get you going, get you started, to show that you're invested, or if you need a reset, I think all men need a reset at least once a year, this is the place for you. It's going to be about 10 guys plus me, super nice house, a lot of fun, no weird stuff. We're going to focus on relationships and presence. That is all I have for today. I'll see you next time, whenever that is.